Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Mr. Wiz here with another fun video. We are still working our way through the MakeCode Arcade extensions. If you are new to this channel, my name is Mr. Wiz and I teach video game coding and design. We've already finished a series on building games in MakeCode Arcade, and now we're working our way through the extensions, which are a great way to improve the quality of your game without doing a lot of extra work. So it's really fun stuff to learn about. Today's extension is color fading. This is personally one of my favorite extensions because it is easy to use and it can do a whole lot. Plus, there's really no room for improvement in my opinion. Some of these extensions I've covered in the past, I've said, okay, well, there's pros and cons. I don't really know any cons to this one. This is an amazing extension that gives you a lot of creative freedom with how your game looks. So let's dive into it. All right. Right now, on this program I have open, I just threw this together a few minutes before creating the video. So I used the background, which was the ocean background, and then I threw some sprites on there. The reason I did is because I wanted something that had a lot of color. For what we're doing today, I want you to see how the variety of colors that can change and how it changes the way things look. So we have the background picture of the coral ocean. I added the seaweed so that we'd have some green in here. I added this angelfish. I think that's an angelfish, so that we would have some white. I added the hermit crab so that we would have some pink. And then I added this post so that we would have some brown. So I think, unless I missed something, I think all the colors in MakeCode Arcade are represented now. There are 15 colors in MakeCode, and I believe they're all on the screen now. So one of the biggest negatives that people have with MakeCode Arcade is that you do have limited colors, right? You only have these 15 colors when you're building stuff. Now, in the past, when I've taught you guys about the painting tools in my lessons, I did show you that you can change those 15 colors. So if you go to Assets and you click on Colors, you can actually edit what 15 colors there are, and you can change them around. There's also some pre-made color palettes here. So you may have already known that if you saw that previous video, and you may have already used some of these variations. But what if you want the colors to change in-game? What if you want them to start one color and end up becoming a different color later on? You can't really do that in the standard way that it's designed. That's where color fading comes in handy. I love, love, love it. So to find it, you're going to go to the extension section right here. You're going to scroll down, and color fading is this one that's got the multiple different colors on the screen. This is color fading. So we're going to go ahead and click on it. And it creates a new section in the toolbox right here that just says color. And these are the blocks. There are a number of blocks here, but don't get overwhelmed. It is easier than it looks. All right, so the first one we notice here, set color to. This is if you want an individual color to change in game. So let me go ahead and grab this, and we'll use a button press for the demo. So the way this would work is you would select the color number, and then you would set the information for the color. So when we are looking at our painting tools, as I mentioned, there are 15 colors here. If you put your mouse over one of them, you'll see the number. So 0 is 1, red is color 2, pink is color 3. So for this example, let's change the blue ocean. So the dark blue, if I put my mouse over it, it says it's color number 8. So I'm going to change color 8. And I could either type it or I could use the scroll bar there. And now I have to decide, what do I want the new color to be? So here I have RGB values, red, green, blue values. So I can type in my values there, or there are some other options here. There's also hue saturation value. And there's parse color, which is the hexadecimal code. Okay? Now, I should have opened another tab with a color wheel. Basically, how you find this information is completely up to you. There are a lot of color wheels available. Oh, I know what I'll do. If you edit a color, you can actually see the color wheel. So I don't think you guys can see it because of the way my screenshot tools work. I don't think you can see what I'm seeing right now. But basically what I'm doing is I'm selecting a color and the RGB values are being shown to me. So let's say I wanted to change that ocean color into a deeper color, almost a purplish blue. So here I'm giving numbers 65, 55, 144. Remember that. Those are my RGB values. 65, 55, 144. Okay, so I'm not actually going to change. It's asking me if I want to change the palette. Let's go back to arcade. We're not actually going to change the palette. 65. Dang it, I already forgot the number. What was it? I'm going to grab a new one. It was like, all right, this one is 68, 43, 125. 68, 43, 125. 68, 43, 125. 68, 43, 125. 68, 43, 125. I really should have written it down. So I'm using the values that I found on the color wheel. When I press the button, the dark blue should turn into that purplish blue. Let's take a look. Boom, it happened. Now you'll notice it happened instantly. Did you guys see that? Let's refresh it and show you again. I press the button, boom. It instantly went from dark blue to the purple, the dark purple. The plus sign here allows me to set a time on it. So what if I want it to fade? What if I don't want it to be instant? I can put a time on how long it takes to transition. I really like 1 second. It tends to look good, in my opinion, but you could do longer if you wanted to. If you wanted to be a slower transition. Ooh, didn't that look good? Just kind of faded. That was neat. I like that. So this first block, set color 2, allows you to change any one individual color of the 15 that you have. You can change any one color to any other color. Literally any color imaginable. You just need to figure out their RGB values. And there are lots of ways of doing that. You saw the way I did it. You can also, a lot of times when I'm building these games, I will have in a separate tab, like a color wheel. You can find a lot of color wheel apps on Google. You just type in like color wheel. And all you need to know is the RGB value, or as I mentioned, if you don't want to use RGB value, you can put hue in here and put the hue saturation value there, or you can use the hexadecimal codes, right? So the hexadecimal are letters and numbers that you can use to set a color. So you can use that as well. Whichever you prefer, but any color is imaginable using this, right? Any shade, whether it's light or dark, any color of the rainbow, you can change anything. And you can have it happen in-game. So when would you want to do this in-game? Maybe you have a background image, which is a blue sky, and you want it to turn into nighttime, but you don't want it to be instantaneous. So you could have the sky change from blue to black, maybe fade out to black, right? Or maybe it's a sunrise, and you could have the colors change as the sun comes up. A lot of options here. So you could have a single color change. Now, the one thing you have to remember is that this changes anytime in the game that color is used, right? So I changed the dark blue. Let's change something else. Let's change the yellow. What color was the yellow? Yellow is color number 5. Okay. So if I changed color number 5, I want you to notice in my picture, yellow is used in multiple places. It's used for the fins of the fish. It's used for some of the coral. It's used for my hermit crab, right? So if I change the yellow, it changes it for all of them. All of them. So that's the one thing you need to keep in mind when you're using this. Think about, it's not just going to change the background. It's not just going to change the sprite. It's going to change anywhere in your game that is using that particular color. So just keep that in mind. If you do an individual color change, it's changing them all. All right, so let's look at some other stuff here. There's also set color palette. So I showed you there were some pre-made palettes. This allows you to quickly switch between them. So I can just grab grayscale as a good example. And if I press the A button, it'll all turn black and white. Boom. Now I have my grayscale game. So it changes all the colors at the same time when you use a palette. Now, I don't usually use this block. This one, it changes everything. So if I was to use this, I would usually use it at the start of the game. So if I wanted my game, for instance, to be more steampunk looking, this is actually a really cool effect for RPGs, the steampunk effect. And I would usually put it in the on start. Now, it doesn't look good for the aquarium, but it could look cool if you had like an Old West game, you know, with cowboys and things like that. You could also change... Arcade's the normal one. Arcade is the original one. Adventure's kind of fun. Yeah, so these are just pre-made palettes that change all the colors. All right, So instead of that one, though, I would usually use this fade to. So fade to is great because it allows you to fade and set the time on it, just like we did earlier, right? So an example of when I might use this would be a boss fight. When you have a boss fight in your game, changing the mood of the way things look can really increase the intensity of the game, right? It makes the player realize, oh, this is serious. Something's going down. So let's say I'm entering and a boss is about to appear. Which one would I use? I'm trying to think which one would look good. I don't remember what Adafruit looks like. Let's take a look at it. So I press A. Ooh, yeah. So everything's bright and vibrant. That's kind of scary. Fading out to black and white, the grayscale, is a pretty cool effect, especially for like something like a boss fight or a horror scene. Maybe a spooky ghost appears and everything fades to gray. That's a pretty cool effect, right? So I like fading when I use the palette. So it's still using the same palettes as before. So it's changing all the colors at once. So the trick is really just finding colors that look good for your game. And if I do fade to black, that's kind of like a fade out, right? So that's kind of cool effect too. You could have that as switching between scenes. You can use a fade to black when switching between scenes. All right. And then you can, of course, you can go back to original. Original's there. All right. Anything else I want to talk to? Apply fade effect, fade to black. It's pretty much the same thing. Pause until current fade is done. So that's kind of cool. So if you are transitioning between scenes or a boss fight, something like that, you may want certain aspects of your game to wait until the effect is over, to wait until the fade is over, right? Especially if it's a longer fade. So yeah, some very cool things here. That's really all I wanted to show you about that. So once again, the benefits of this extension is that you can change these things during the game whenever you want to. One way that I've used this once is I had a player's armor change, right? So maybe he picks up a special item. Think about Mario, right? He picks up the flower and his outfit changes. You could, if that outfit is unique to the character and you don't use that color anywhere else in your game, you could have that color fade to another color. So suddenly he was wearing red and now he's wearing like a bright, vibrant orange red, right? So you could do that and it'd be a very cool effect in your game if that's the only place you're using color. If you're using that color in other places, it might be kind of weird if the sun changed colors the same time the outfit changed color, something like that, right? So you got to think about those things when you're making these choices. But yeah, this is a great way to change either individual colors or the entire palette in a single moment in the game whenever you feel like it fits your story. Great way to make your game go to the next level as far as professionalism is concerned. Okay, so that's all I wanted to say about that. If you learned something new today, please click that like button. If you are not currently subscribed, please subscribe. Don't forget to tell friends and family about this game. The best way for us to keep making stuff for you all is to keep spreading awareness. So please let people know so they can come build their own games. If you built something fun using color fading, I want to see it. So please click that share button right there. Copy the link to your game and post it in the comments so I can see what you decide to do with your color fading extension. All right. I will see you guys next time with more extensions. There's a lot more to go.